So you think that you gained all that weight just by eating a little bit more? Well, let me tell you what I did on the cruise, which kind of debunks that a little bit. And if it's me in my mid 50s, I can only imagine how much you younger folks are gaining weight and don't even realize how much food you're actually shoveling in. What's going on, everybody? It's Dev from Built After 50, an Iron Father. And I just had to tell you how I was surprised. I got back from the cruise. We did rip for the ship, right? And I didn't get nearly as ripped as I wanted to because I still ate a little bit more than I probably should have. But I was actually feeling good. And I was surprised where last year's cruise, I gained 10 pounds. 10 pounds. I mean, you think 3 desserts many nights would actually do that to you. But y'all know how cruise eating is. I mean, it was like, for the first time in my life, I didn't have my mama looking at me saying, boy, you know you better not go in there and eat those cookies. You know you better not eat all that food up for tomorrow. I was able to eat as much. Look, you know how the Bible and Proverbs talked about the sin of gluttony? And I'm thinking, I don't know if I've ever actually experienced and done that. Yeah, well, if that's the case, I had some repenting to do on last year's cruise. But this year, I actually didn't gorge myself quite as much, but I did overeat. And surprisingly enough, I came back, I really only gained about 5 pounds. I was going for 2 weeks, eating whatever I wanted to eat, and only gained 5 pounds, half as much as what I gained before. Now, before you think, oh, that was 5 pounds of fat, no. That was probably 3 to 5 pounds, 4 pounds of water, maybe another additional pound, maybe 2 pounds of fat, maybe. We'll see how fast it comes off. I've been back now, not even a week. 2 pounds came off already. And that's still having a diet that is, I'm probably right at my caloric maintenance now. And I've certainly have some foods I know sodium filled or just some of my balsamic vinegar dressing, things that I know the next day is going to make the scale go up, but I don't panic because I had a good meal. And so I'm really not tripping about this. But it made me think, when people gain that much weight on a cruise, how much is it really due to them eating all the time like that when they're not on a cruise? Meaning that there are some of you that put on 10, 15, 20, 35, 40 pounds. And to you, you think, well, I really don't eat that much. No, you may not eat that much now. But if you aren't keeping track of how much food you actually shoving down your mouth, and you figure you're doing this for months and months and months at a time, that's why you finally get on the scale or you go to the doctors and then you realize, wow, I can't believe I got that big. So this was a bit of another reinforcement to me, certainly as a trainer, that when my clients say, well, I don't know why I'm not losing any weight, I can definitely, again, still look at those dials of activity level and caloric intake. And people will talk like, oh, I just didn't eat that much or I didn't have that much food. No, you did. And you probably cheated a lot more than what you're telling your trainer. You probably may think you only had 1 slice of pizza. And when you go into MyFitnessPal or whatever you use, you're talking about a slice that big, but you're not talking about the slice that you actually had that's big, that is that big. And so are you deceiving yourself? Do you go ahead and tell your trainer, you know, I had 1 breadstick? Or did you have 1 breadstick 4 times? Did you talk about the sugary sauce or sugary powder, whatever it is that you dip your breadstick in? Did you talk about the butter that you laced on all of your stuff? Do you talk about all of the days that you have those desserts? Do you log those in? Look, this isn't to shame anyone, but it's yet another reminder that when we do these things day after day, it's almost like that movie 28, Super Size Me, where he went on McDonald's for 28 days. I thought there was some controversy about whether he reported his findings right or not. But if I recall correctly, I think one of the things that's generally true is that even after a month of eating a whole bunch of garbage, really, he didn't change too much. I mean, I think his cholesterol started going up. There were obviously some marked effects, but it wasn't like this dude became, went from doggone being Manute Bull to looking like Shaq in 28 days. Go look that up for those of you who may not know your Gen X basketball players. But bottom line, he didn't go from being a string bean to being a big fat dude in 28 days at McDonald's. A lot of you, that's not why you are your size. That's not why you're struggling with your weight. You're struggling with your weight is because you do this day after day after day and have been doing so for months after months after months. When you think about the sugary drinks that you take in, I know my girls lost a ton of weight just by dialing back on Coca-Cola. I ain't messing around with no more addicts. Coca-Cola. Just by dialing back on that. And that ended up, boom, taking weight off. And if you think about how much sugar and just really empty calories that are in pop or soda for the rest of you folks in the world, you realize, but how many calories you're taking in, how much sugar, useless calories you're taking in day after day, oftentimes multiple times a day. But you do that for years after years. And then you combine that with some of the foods that you take in because, the pop or soda isn't actually filling you up. So then what do we tend to do? We tend to eat foods that also contribute to that weight gain. Nobody's saying I want some Coke and, oh yeah, by the way, give me some broccoli and some chicken breast and rice to go with that. So you usually end up having some pizza or something else that is a heavy fat-laden food, high calorically dense food, a lot of calories in it. And so overall, this was yet another lesson. And I want you to look inside your own diet, look inside your own nutrition habits. And I want you to ask yourself, where am I taking in all this food? And how long have I been taking in all this food? And really, if you're not tracking, you're probably not too serious on changing what you're doing in the first place. That's why all my clients have to track. Lastly, I do have to talk about the importance of moving around. Talk about those 10-minute, 15-minute walks after a meal. We automatically got that even after hitting the buffet, even after hitting the nice dining area, even after having my sweet rolls, bacon, sausage, every day. But what's funny is we would end up walking, and our cabin was on the 5th deck, walking up to the 12th deck multiple times a day, but certainly after eating. So you figure if you're walking up, 5, 6, 7 flights of stairs, then walking across the ship. Thankfully, I wasn't on a massive ship, but then you're walking across the ship and back and forth. The steps were getting up there. And then if we look at the excursions as well that we were taking, oftentimes, many times on the excursions, we weren't necessarily walking around. You're just seated, in a Jeep, bouncing around the whole time. But that was good. But some days, or when we got back from the excursion, we would end up walking around the town. So there was just so much movement and activity. Really, only the at-sea days were the days that I think I would have struggled getting some steps in that were close to what I was getting on the other days. And certainly there were a lot of people just walking around the ship doing laps, and that's an alternative. That's something you can do also. The point is that when you're on a cruise, you can eat a lot, but you can also move a lot. Which choice are you going to make? But whether you're getting ripped for the ship or whether you're now trying to get ripped for summer, the choice is still yours. You can continue the eating patterns that you're doing and understand that you are eating a lot if you've put on 10, 20, 30 pounds. And you're just not estimating it correctly. You're just not even being cognizant of it. You're probably just not moving around, and you're probably skipping those workouts at the gym, and you're probably not getting the steps, cardio, or anything else that you normally would get in, and you find that scale sliding up more and more. If you're ready to stop it, reach out, contact me. Let me know, DM me below, and at least you can be accountable to somebody with this. Let me go ahead and be that person you can be accountable to stop this. Because sometimes when you shy away and when you don't want anybody to know what you're doing, you don't want to say anything, you can continue eating the way that you eat. And you think that eventually, when I'm ready to start, it's going to be easy to stop again. I can tell you, even after 2 weeks of eating what I wanted, when I wanted, it was still kind of hard to readjust. And thankfully, once I got home, it was pretty easy. But I had that little phase in between there. Went to mom's house. It wasn't like Ice Cube went to mom's house and dropped the load in the bathroom. I went to mom's house and had some of her macaroni and cheese. And what did she make? Oh, man, I forgot some of the other stuff. Her green beans, things I definitely miss that don't get that good, that I don't normally have at home. So I was able to dial it back a little bit. But I had about 3 days in there. By the time I got back home, then at least my palate was a little bit back to my bland normal for me. And I could be content with a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But after 2 weeks of that good ship eating, oh my goodness. And a lot of you that love to cook and have a whole lot of stuff in your house, it is a lot harder than you think to dial it back. Let me help you. Got these kids over here now hitting some baseball, so it's going to be a little hard to continue this. So DM me, reach out below. Let me get you now in shape for the summer, or rip for the ship, because again, it's cruising season for a lot of you. You can go ahead and make this progress so we can minimize the amount of weight that you gain on your vacation, or we can trim you down before you go on vacation with the anticipation, like I did, that I'm going to put on a little bit, but if I'm going to eat hard, I'm going to walk hard, and I'm going to train hard. And that way you stay hard. All right, y'all, until next time. Built after 50, because it's not over. The best years can actually be on their way.